What's happening, guys? I had another deep thought recently. I was actually looking on a couple of groups that I follow on Facebook, Marine Corps veteran groups that I follow and kind of chime in on. Try to stay in the community and see how guys are doing. And sometimes people post a lot of funny stuff, and sometimes people post serious stuff that talk about real shit that, they're hurting. They're dealing with some stuff, and lots of times I can relate. Sometimes it's something I'm dealing with right now. Sometimes it's something I've dealt with and have kind of worked through, or am on the other side of, or getting close to the other side of. In my opinion, life is a forward-moving process. You should always be working at trying to make every little aspect of your life better in some form or fashion. Anyways, the post said 30 fucking years wasted. And he was talking about his marriage. He's talking about a marriage that he didn't quit, but he should have, according to what he said. And he's looking back and saying how much time he had wasted. And he was feeling pretty upset about kind of having resentment and rumination. And I've learned that resentment and rumination are things that if you don't pay attention to, they can eat you alive. And I dealt with resentment and rumination while I was depressed. And to be honest, a good portion of my 30s sucked. Not in every aspect, but overall, I was not happy. I was in a funk. I was not where I wanted to be in life. And as I was working through that and started making changes in my life, I had these same feelings of resentment at the time that I wasted not being happy. And it was hard to get out of that mindset of being upset with myself, being upset with the other people that I blamed for where I was in life. And what it amounted to was basically I was having a very victim mentality. And what I realized after time was the victim mentality wasn't doing me any favors. I wasn't getting any extra sympathy from myself or anyone else because I was ruminating or complaining or being resentful. And I wasn't getting any more time back. And one of the counseling sessions that I had with an excellent counselor that I had from the home-based program, and they're based out of Boston, they talked about the idea of radical acceptance. And that idea definitely opened my eyes. And at first it's a hard pill to swallow, but the idea is if you're in a situation that's either in the past or something that you cannot change, instead of being resentful, ruminating, being depressed, being upset, being angry, lashing out, and spending energy expressing how upset you are about this, you take a breath and you accept where you are and what happened in the past. And yeah, you might have been wronged. It might have been a shitty situation. You might have very well been a victim of something. But the idea of radical acceptance is that you can't change it. You can't go back and alter what happened, and you might not be able to reconcile it. But if you continue to hold on to it, it becomes a shackle, it becomes an anchor, it becomes a weight that slows you down, holds you back, and prevents you from moving forward or enjoying life. And you start wasting more time ruminating, being resentful, being depressed, being upset about this situation that you can't change. And when you realize that there's nothing you can do about it, yeah, that sucks. And it's especially for someone like myself, who I have sometimes a tendency to be kind of vindictive. If someone hurts or wrongs me, I feel like I need to get even. I feel like I need to even it out, get some justice, vengeance. those kinds of ideas, and sometimes you can't. And sometimes the process of trying to do so is causing more harm to yourself and others than what you think it should by pursuing it. And these are all hard things to kind of swallow. But when you do, what I've learned is when you are able to let go, the healing process is much faster. And you can shed that baggage. And honestly, what you feel is freedom. You feel like this thing that was holding you back is no longer a factor. And you can move forward, and it is actually, it strengthens your character. It strengthens your ability to rely on yourself. You can look back at that situation and be like, I survived that. I made it. On the other side. And you can look forward at similar situations that you might encounter and navigate them differently, work through it in a different way, use the things that you've learned, your experience, and do a better job with it. And so if you are dealing with something that is in the past, I encourage you to consider letting it go. You might feel like I do. You want to hold someone or something accountable for that pain that you feel. But spend some time really considering, what does that gain? What does it worth? Are you going to actually be better off if you are able to get some sort of justice? Or is it just wasting more of your time? And could you be better off just putting all your energy into your new direction, your new purpose, your new path, your new goals? Sometimes what I like to do is, when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling lost, you're feeling with like you have no direction, instead of trying to figure out what to do, sometimes you need to think a little bit farther ahead and decide, where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And once you can kind of paint that picture in your mind and even write it down, then you can work backwards from there and say, oh, well, what does it take for me to get to where I want to be the person I want to be? And then break it down. Give yourself some steps. Give yourself some bite-sized pieces. And then work at those steps. And what I've learned is, when you start making progress on that, when you start achieving small victories in your life and you start seeing progress, what happens is people rely on motivation sometimes to work through things that are hard. Motivation doesn't come from... It's very hard to be motivated when you're dealing with something difficult. But if you use discipline, if you create new habits and you are consistent, then what happens is you'll notice that the motivation will follow. Sometimes you have to push through the shit to find the motivation. And if you can push through the shit and prove to yourself that you have the character, you have the reliability. Sometimes it's hard to rely on yourself. You need to be able to, if there's one person that you should be able to rely on, it is yourself. You should be able to trust yourself. And the only way you can do that is to prove to yourself that when the going gets tough, you push through and you do the things that you want to look back and be proud of. So, look at where you want to be, break it down into steps, set some goals, start achieving bite-sized goals, and start using that progress as momentum to kind of create that motivation. And I believe if you do so, you'll experience what I've experienced, is a much more fulfilling life, and day to day is better. And then you can look back. For me, 2-3 years ago, life was rough. Now I can look back, and instead of wondering where the fuck I'm going, what I'm doing, now I've got direction, now I've got purpose. And when you have direction and purpose, these small things that come in and kind of throw me off aren't as big of a deal, because I know where I'm going now. And before, when I didn't know where I was going, these things that are small felt really big then. So hopefully that helps. Again, just something that I was kind of thinking about today, and hope you guys are all doing well and working towards making your life better. Take care.